SR's Creations says, what is the mark of the beast as described in Revelation 13? I've heard and read so many things, and I'm not sure how to make sense of it. I don't know. So here's a couple thoughts on this. One is, in Revelation 13, we have a... Well, let's look at it, you guys. Let's look at it for those who maybe need a little refresher reminder about the mark. I'll read a section here from Revelation. And I saw a beast, Revelation 13, rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to it the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. The dragon is Satan here. And one of his heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed, and the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who can fight against it? And the beast was given a mouth, uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. Also, it was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. And authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation, and all who dwell on the earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been found, written before the foundation of the world, in the book of the life of the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword he must be slain. Here is a call for the endurance and faith of the saints. Okay, so there's going to be this world ruler or kingdom, and I won't even try to get into the symbolism, all this stuff of what it represents. I don't think it's going to physically look like these things. I think these are all symbolic representations so far. And the saints need to endure through this time of persecution and suffering. The second beast. I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast in its presence. So the first beast exercises Satan's authority, then the second beast exercises the first beast's authority. So it's like tearing down. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. Okay, so some would call this the false prophet, whose mortal wound was healed. He's doing this sort of like stirring up the worship of this beast. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image for the beast. Okay, so the people make an image of some kind for the beast. You could think back about Nebuchadnezzar. There was a big literal image made of him, and they did literally worship it. That was wounded by the sword and yet lived. Verse 15. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that even the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Okay, now it's easy to think of technology as being the way this is fulfilled, and I mean, that's possible. But I'm just going to not tell you how I think it's going to be fulfilled. I think that I don't know. And just because it could be that way, and in my culture, in my moment, it looks like it might be that way if it happened right now, doesn't mean that I'm right about it, because I've read too many people from 10, 50, 80, 100 years ago who got it all wrong because they thought, if it happened today, it would look this way, and they made assumptions. But the important thing is that there's like a religion now around this thing, and the image of the beast has some function of speaking, communicating, and if you don't worship it, you'll be slain. Also, and then this is the reason why I read all that is because in the mark is in the context of those things. We tend to think of the mark as being like its own separate thing. Like there's like you might accidentally take the mark, right? Like you know, you go to Disneyland and you're on your way out and they're like, "You want the stamp? You know, you can't come back in without the stamp, and you can't buy or sell in here without the stamp." And so you get the stamp, and then no, I didn't know it was the mark, Disney. You know, this is not what we should be thinking. Verse 16, also it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead. This mark seems to be in relation to what? The religious worship of this beast. That's and the image of the beast. The mark is connected to the worship. That's my point here. So that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This implies what? Either that John doesn't know exactly what this mark's going to be, or he's just telling you the mark will be associated with the name of the beast or the number of its name in some fashion. the earlier reference to the number of a name, right, is interesting here. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, preterists would say that represents Nero. And others would say, oh, it represents, and they would name anybody they want. Like, you can pick a president of the U.S., you can make a way to make their name come out to 666. It's just always going to be everybody. My point is this. Since people emphasize buying and selling and requiring a mark, and then that's kind of all they talk about, this has led to people thinking that the mark of the beast is barcodes. And I've heard this, that I was going to hold up a barcode, but I don't think I have a barcode in front of me. That the mark of the beast is barcodes, and barcodes, the two long ones represent 6, and the two long ones in the middle represent 6, and the two extra long ones on each side 666, and it's barcodes. And so this was like caused paranoia amongst Christians in an embarrassing and unhealthy fashion in the 70s and in the 80s. Then it became credit cards. Credit cards, and they started figuring out how credit cards were all associated with 666 somehow. Right? And why is this? Because barcodes were needed for buying and selling. Now, you didn't get them on you yet, but they thought maybe they will. That's all. It just takes one little thing. It just takes one little step, and then it's on you. And this is where I'm going to say, Christians, I am not your guide here, but let me tell you what my experience has been personally. I have seen more Christians spazzing out and causing fear, unnecessary fear in others, as well as making themselves look silly because of them trying to predict where the mark of the beast is going to be, what it's going to be, and when it's going to happen. I don't think you should do this. I think as a Christian, you need to stop. Look at the context of Revelation 13, and here's my point. It's not just buying and selling. It's the worship. It's the presence of this beast, the presence of the second beast, the image that speaks that you must worship, and then the buying and selling is now attached to that. And until that happens, personally, if anybody out there, Christians, I love you, but if you come to me and tell me that you think the vaccine is the mark of the beast, and you think that getting a chip put in your hand so you can access your work computer is the mark of the beast, please don't. I don't even want to hear it. Like, I'm so beyond it. I can't shake you of this opinion. Maybe fine. Consider me to be someone who doesn't care. Unless this mark is associated with the worship of the beast, right, and his image, then the fact that you can't buy or sell without fill in the blank doesn't impress me that much. Because in any society, there's always something that's associated with buying and selling. A currency, right? A credit card, a digital currency. There's always going to be something, and then there's going to be a group of Christians in that society freaking out about that thing, embarrassing other Christians, and making it harder to preach the gospel in that culture. And y'all, you need to stop.